오른쪽에 셀프요.
지금 마이크 켜진 거잖아.
네.
Distinguished delegates, colleagues, and partners, good morning, and welcome to our side event entitled Advancing Climate Resilience Through Innovation, Urban Heat Action and Coastal Coast Risk Solutions for Asia and the Pacific. We're really happy to see you here. This event is organized by the Republic of Korea and the UK and co-organized by the National Disaster Management Authority of Maldives and the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services. We're really happy to be here. Before we begin, a few housekeeping announcements for online participants. If you wish to ask a question or make a comment during the interactive segment, please use the raise hand function in Microsoft Teams. When you're given the floor, kindly unmute your microphone, turn on your camera if possible, and briefly introduce yourself and your organization. To avoid audio interference, please ensure that only one device per room is connected with an active microphone. It is now my pleasure to invite our distinguished opening speakers to deliver the remarks. So first off, we have Mr. Sang-min Nam, the Director of the Environment and Development Division of ESCAP.
Thank you. Good morning, and distinguished experts and colleagues and partners. It is really a pleasure to welcome you to this side event on advancing climate resilience through innovation, which is focusing on urban heat action and coastal risk solutions. And also, I wish to recognize the leadership and commitments of the Republic of Korea and United Kingdom, also India, for their technical cooperation supporting countries in Asia Pacific for improving, enhancing their resilience. This is the last day of APFSD. As we are meeting under the umbrella of APFSD, the stakes are very clear, and climate impacts are no longer distant risks. We have experienced the extreme heat during recent years, especially 2023. Throughout Southeast Asia and South Asia, we experienced extreme urban heat. And also, along our coast, sea level rise and storm surge are increasing, which were highlighted by delegation from our Pacific countries during this APFSD. And we are very well aware of the impact, which are not impacting evenly, but disproportionately, impacting women, persons with a disability, and urban poor, and those living in informal settlement, because where they live and because what kind of a socio-physical condition that they have with regard to coping with natural hazard and disasters. So this reinforces the urgency of our action, and especially action that is inclusive and people-centered responses. At the same, also during recent years, our member states have enhanced their climate ambition out of 49 our regional members, 43 made commitments to net zero or carbon neutrality. But ambition alone is not enough, and decision makers need practical tools, evidence, and data, and partnership that can translate their ambition and our analysis into concrete action on the ground. In this regard, allow me to highlight three practical messages to frame our discussion, not only our discussion, but our technical cooperation in the future. First, action-oriented and city-focused work to support the cities to develop comprehensive action plan on urban heat and also resilience. This requires assembling packages of measures from emergency responses to nature-based solutions, also from cool roof and cooling infrastructure to monitoring health impact. These measures are also most effective when they are designed with the community, not just by experts or policymakers, but with the community. And this should be targeted to most exposed and integrated into local development planning so that they are not staying as independently and they are really part of cities development planning. My second point is science-based solutions designed for decision makers. We need a science. Policies should be well supported by science. Yeah. But innovation must be supported. This science also requires a strong multidimensional information, integrating natural hazard with socio-economic vulnerability and urban heat, and also urban heat methodologies combining satellite and ground observation and urban spatial mapping so that we can identify, pinpoint hotspot and priority interventions. Also, this is not just the base, it shouldn't be just focusing on general spatial planning and hotspot identification, but include integration of gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. So assessment include this those especially community with exposed, highly exposed by natural disaster and also including urban heat. Third point is designed for replication and scaling. We are planning to carry out a pilot project, but the project should be more than just a demonstration, but that should be able to replicate at the regional and sub-regional level. In this regard, ESCAP's pilot project will focus on South Asia to generate the models that can be adopted elsewhere and supported through community of practice and knowledge exchange and South-South cooperation. In this regard, we are also looking for strategic partnership with UCLG, ASPAC, UNEP, and ESCAP's own institutions, research institutions, and also sub-regional offices. And since our cooperation aims to accelerate the translation of knowledge into policies, investment, and services that protect those in heat-stressed cities, vulnerable coastal zone, I would like to also highlight the three practical questions to identify the direction of our technical cooperation. First one is, what capacities do we need to operationalize action at city and national levels? We will continue to work on this, but we have limited resources at the national level and sub-regional, regional level. So in order to operationalize this, we have to look at what capacities we have to target. And second question is partnership. What partnership can generate adoption and scale up of new policies, tools that not only ESCAP, but many international partners are developing. And third question is, how do we ensure gender equality, disability inclusion, and leave no one behind? So without our focus on these vulnerable communities and without incorporating the philosophy and idea of leaving no one behind, we cannot really address our intervention effectively. So in this regard, this is not just a question for this side event, but for identifying the direction of our future technical cooperation. And I'm very grateful to those joining here and also online and also partnership of ROK and UK and Maldives and India. And really we look forward to starting new sub-regional, regional technical cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those opening remarks. Now for our next opening remark speaker, we have Mr. Nam-Hu Kim, who is the permanent representative to ESCAP from the Embassy of the Republic of Korea in Thailand. The floor is yours.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to join you today at this ESCAP APFSD side event on advancing climate resilience through innovation, urban heat action, and coastal risk solutions for a sustainable Asia Pacific. I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to all of you for being here. The Republic of Korea is honored to organize today's event together with the UK. I also wish to warmly acknowledge our co-organizers and technical partners, including the National Disaster Management Authority of the Maldives and INCOIS of India, whose engagement ensures that our discussions remain firmly grounded on national priorities and real-world needs. The Asia-Pacific region remains highly vulnerable to climate-related risks. Cities are experiencing more frequent and intensive heat waves, while coastal communities face rising sea levels and growing exposure to extreme weather events. Addressing these challenges requires not only ambition, but also practical tools, credible data, and strong partnerships. In this context, regional platforms for cooperation are more important than ever. We look forward to continued exchanges, including the UNFCCC Climate Week to be hosted in Yeosu, Korea this April, as an opportunity to deepen regional collaboration. Today's discussion is particularly timely as it aligns with the theme of the 13th Asia-Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development, which calls for transformative, equitable, innovative, and coordinated actions to advance the 2030 agenda. In line with this call for innovation and coordinated action, allow me to share one concrete example of Korea's cooperation with ESCAP. Since 2020, the Republic of Korea and ESCAP has been jointly implementing the Building the Pan-Asia Partnership for Geospatial Air Pollution Information Project. This initiative aims to strengthen regional capacity for air pollution monitoring by utilizing data from Korea's Geostationary Environmental Monitoring Spectrometer, or GEMS. From 2020 to 2024, over 700 participants from 8 countries, including 230 government officials, have taken part in capacity building activities under this project. In countries such as Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines, the initiative has supported the development of institutional frameworks for air quality monitoring using GEMS data. Enhanced air quality monitoring not only protects public health, but also strengthens evidence-based climate adaptation planning. Reliable data enables governments to design more targeted and effective responses to environmental and climate risks. I'm pleased that Dr. Lim from Korea-China Air Quality Group will provide further insight into this project and offer a clear understanding of how GEMS contribute to regional resilience. Just as Korea has sought to contribute through geospatial innovation, The UK has also played a significant role in advancing climate resilience across the region through close cooperation with the ESCAP Secretariat. We value this partnership and look forward to expanding it further. We also look forward to hearing from the Maldives and India on their national efforts to strengthen climate resilience, particularly in addressing coastal and ocean-related risks. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change cannot be addressed through mitigation alone. While mitigation remains indispensable, it cannot reverse impacts that are already unfolding. As heat waves intensify and sea levels rise, adaptation is no longer optional. It's an urgent necessity. Advancing innovative climate adaptation requires three critical enablers. First, raising awareness at all levels of society. Second, promoting evidence-based actions grounded in reliable data. And third, fostering technology-driven innovation. Through these combined efforts, we can build more resilient societies and safeguard sustainable development for both present, and future generations. The Republic of Korea strongly supports intergovernmental cooperation on climate resilience and adaptation. We remain committed to sharing innovative data from the GEMS satellite and strengthening regional cooperation through initiatives such as the Asia-Pacific Environmental Cooperation Hub in Seoul and the next phase of the Seoul Initiative SIN. Building an inclusive and climate resilient future is not merely a national aspiration. It's a collective responsibility that requires shared vision and sustained collaboration. I'm confident that today's event will further reinforce regional cooperation to address urban heat and coastal risks across Asia-Pacific and accelerate progress toward the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. In closing, I'd like to once again express my sincere appreciation to the United Kingdom and UN ESCAP for making this important event possible, and to all experts and representatives for their valuable contributions. Thank you.
Mr. Kim, thank you so much for those opening remarks and for our ongoing partnership. Our next speaker for the opening remarks is Ms. Rachna Bhutnagar, who is a program manager in the Climate Resilience Department in the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Department Office. The floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. Distinguished colleagues, partners, delegates, both here in Bangkok and those joining online, a very good morning to all of you. My name is Rachna Bhatnagar, and I'm a program manager with the UK FCDO's Climate Resilience Department. I want to begin by thanking once again ESCAP for leading this session, our co-organizers, the Republic of Korea, NDMA Maldives, and the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services. Your partnership reflects exactly the kind of coordinated regional action that the climate crisis demands of us. As already mentioned by both my fellow speakers, it's always a disadvantage to being the last speaker because all the points have been talked about. But still, I would like to say that stronger storms, rising seas, and hotter and drier summers are not distant threats anymore. They have a profound impact on people's lives, livelihoods, and economic stability. And yet the global gap between adaptation planning, investment, and implementation on one hand, and actual needs on the other remains very vast. The UK remains committed to bridging that gap, and we are doing this through a modernized approach to development. This means that UK is not simply a donor, but an investor dedicated to long-term systems changes. It is committed to bringing in its expertise while delivering through strong multilateral and local partners. This is exactly what the UK's flagship Climate Action for Resilient Asia program, in short CARA, is doing across nearly 30 countries in Asia and the Pacific. It recognizes that the landscapes and the social and economic conditions in Asia and the Pacific are incredibly diverse, which is why CARA promotes solutions tailored to each unique context. We are able to do this because of our emphasis on local leadership as well as our ability to operate on scale. Through 7 interlinked components, including the flexible fund, which is now called the Local Level Adaptation Fund, CARA spans a broad set of adaptation concerns, from mobilizing more climate finance to empowering local communities to lead conservation efforts. But today we are focusing on 2 increasingly severe risks, which are extreme heat and coastal hazards. The ESCAP-led projects, which we will hear more about today, are on the ground leading CARA's efforts in these areas. But I want to emphasize that the UK recognizes the extent of the problem and the need to drive a spectrum of solutions, from generating evidence and research to developing tools, systems, and coalitions that make early action the norm. Extreme heat in particular is terrifying in how extensive its impacts are on people's health and livelihood. Coming from New Delhi, where temperatures could soar up to 50 degrees in summers now, which was never the case during my childhood, and believe me, I'm not that old. It is evident that so much more needs to be done to act early and protect people from severe heat exposure leading to multiple health risks. CARA is working on multiple fronts to tackle this. First, through our wiser Asia Pacific component, the UK Met Office is leading efforts to transform the quality, accessibility, and use of weather and climate information services across the region, including improving resilience to intensifying heat. One important initiative is the development of a regional framework and toolkit for impact-based forecasting. This goes beyond traditional forecasting. Rather than just predicting whether or what the weather will be, it predicts what the weather will or can do. By combining these forecasts with data on how vulnerable or exposed people and sectors are, and by framing warnings in a way that motivates action, this approach can save lives. Through SAHF, or the South Asia Hydromet Forum, the Met Office and the World Bank are bringing together national meteorological services, disaster management authorities, and development partners in a shared effort to strengthen early warning systems for heat and cold hazards across the region. Secondly, through the World Bank-led Resilient Asia program, component of CARA, we are also supporting governments with delivering sustainable cooling solutions. World Bank's work on heat is advancing the current state of knowledge on heat mitigation. This includes most recently a new handbook on urban heat management in the global south, which provides practical guide for city leaders to move from reactive measures to long-term resilience, safeguarding lives and economies from extreme urban heat. Thirdly, CARA is also driving climate ambition in the global development architecture through initiatives like Urban Resilience Trust Fund managed by ADB. It has been instrumental in shaping large-scale investments and pushing innovative program in climate resilient urban planning. In the pipeline is a regional project spanning Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Island, and the Philippines that would focus on establishing urban heat mapping and heat warning systems that combine different types of data to protect vulnerable populations. The URTF program also prioritizes climate and health. Through a regional approach spanning 6 countries, ADB is developing a climate and health knowledge platform. They are also planning specific measures around urban heat and health. We are also excited by the promise shown by the CARA Local Level Adaptation Fund project in Tamil Nadu in India to set up a center for heat resilience. The leadership shown by the state government combined with the technical expertise of UNEP and the World Resource Institute could result in a model worth replicating on a much larger scale. The urgency is clear with coastal risks too. ESCAP's own analysis found that over 20 million people across 13 Indian Ocean countries are exposed to coastal hazards, with India, the Maldives, and Sri Lanka among the most affected. The CARA-funded work led by ESCAP to develop a regional multi-hazard coastal tool is designed to provide actionable support. Consultations they are leading in the Maldives and Sri Lanka are helping to ensure that this tool is primed for uptake, that it reaches national planners and at-risk communities. The examples I have talked about today capture a snapshot of the work. Beyond CARA, the UK is supporting research and partnerships geared towards heat and its impact on health. We recognize that the funding landscape has changed and that is for worse. This means the quality of climate finance matters even more than ever. The CARA team is focused on ensuring our investments make a measurable difference and generate evidence that others can learn from and build upon. It's also vital for us that principles of gender equality and social inclusion, already mentioned, are deeply embedded in the programs. If you are interested to know more about CARA and its components, I have a few flyers at the registration counter to share with you. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your solutions, how they could improve the quality and accessibility of climate information, and how, through a regional approach, they could help at risk countries learn from each other and make more targeted investments. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to be part of such convenings that are actively working towards a more climate resilient future, which is the need of the day. Thank you and look forward to your presentations to listen more of government and partners to know about the priorities in the region and how to work together effectively. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bhatnagar, for those remarks and for your ongoing partnership. And thank you all to the opening speakers for framing the importance of climate resilience and strong partnerships behind today's event. We will now be taking a brief group photo to mark the occasion. So if I can ask the participants in person to go towards the front of the theater. Oh, sorry, only opening speakers. Yes, can I invite the opening speakers to take a photo? I think we have the photographer here. Great, thank you so much. I think we're running a bit short on time, so I think we're going to go ahead to session one. Great, thank you. So now as we move to session one, which focuses on regional perspectives and concrete approaches to enhance climate resilience in cities, particularly in the context of rising urban heat. Our speakers will highlight the urban heat crisis in South Asia and share experiences with nature-based and other practical solutions for cooling cities. After both presentations, we will have a brief transition to session two, which will focus on coastal risk and multi-hazard solutions. I now welcome my colleague, Matthew Perkins, to begin his presentation.
Hi, thanks very much everyone for joining us in the room and online. I'm going to very much truncate my remarks in order to maximize the time we have remaining for our substantive speakers in the rest of the program. I'd like to highlight the importance of the action on extreme urban heat. 2 weeks ago, we held a research symposium on the effects of extreme heat in urban environments on maternal and neonatal health. And it was just really clear how strong the science is of the severe impact of extreme heat events in our cities. It's the impact on increasing stillbirths, deaths of newborn babies. It's really costing human lives here and now, and the need to act is very urgent. So we're very grateful for our member countries that have come forward with voluntary contributions to support this work financially and technically, and we look forward as the Regional Commission to help facilitate that cooperation throughout the region. And with that being said, I'll end my remarks there and pass the microphone to my colleague Kim Roseberry, who has some really great cooling solutions to talk to us about. Kim?
Thank you so much, Matthew. If I could just get my slides up there. Okay, great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you about some of the work we're doing here at ESCAP on urban heat resilience. So I won't spend much time, but we all know heat, and as we've heard, is a growing risk to people and communities. Urbanization, growing populations, rising temperatures from climate change are threatening health, productivity, learning, and overall well-being. And as heat waves become more frequent and intense, the situation's becoming dire for some. So those who are most vulnerable, such as low-income households who cannot afford air conditioning, the elderly and outdoor workers bear the greatest brunt of this challenge. And so cooling has become critical. Access to comfortable, thermally comfortable spaces is absolutely critical. And this is a necessity in the face of all of these risks, yet at the same time, it's creating an energy and emissions challenge. Cooling is one of the greatest drivers of rising energy demand here in Asia and the Pacific. So one of the key initiatives that we have here at ESCAP is the development of national cooling action plans based on a methodology that was supported by ESCAP and is published by the Cool Coalition and was contributed to by many organizations and development partners. And this methodology looks at cooling from a very comprehensive approach that includes urban planning and design, building design and construction, space cooling, as well as food supply chains and industrial mobile cooling. So while we might think that air conditioning might be the top topic in a cooling action plan, in fact, these plans place passive cooling measures and nature-based solutions at the top as the first solution to the heat challenge and the cooling challenge. That is followed by energy efficient delivery of cooling services and the transition to low global warming potential refrigerants. So why do we believe this is important? This is a holistic view of the cooling sector, and it really combines and links with national commitments under the SDGs, the Paris Agreement, as well as the Kigali Amendment, and also integrates national energy efficiency and energy conservation objectives. Cooling really sits at the center of so many challenges. The implementation of a national cooling action plan has the ability to address economic and social challenges across societies. Through national cooling action plans, through nature-based solutions, passive cooling measures, you can reduce the pressure on power systems because you're reducing the need for cooling. You're lowering climate impacts of the built environment. And you are, for people, really introducing and increasing access to thermally comfortable spaces where people can be more productive, students can learn better, people are healthier, and they have overall better well-being. So I think many of you are very familiar with what some of the nature-based solutions are, but these are put forward in these national cooling action plans. There on the right, of course, trees and greenery. Greenery is one of the first approaches that are considered, but there are many others, including within urban planning, consideration of ventilation at the city level, taking advantage of predominant wind directions and topography, the use of water bodies, and at the site level, the orientation of buildings has a lot to do with how much heat gain that building will experience due to its solar exposure. Surfaces and their reflectivity and their mass consideration of these factors really has influence on urban heat. And you can see on the left-hand side that when you work with nature and natural forces, you can really minimize some of the heat. So on the top there, very few passive cooling or nature-based solutions integrated, whereas on the bottom we see a tree canopy really leading to cooler environment. One of our key outputs of a recent project is guidelines for passive cooling strategies in Cambodia. And here's just one of the illustrations there that shows how bioclimatic design can be utilized to keep indoor temperatures low. And as I mentioned, building orientation, solar exposure are key measures. To reduce heat gain, we look at insulating roofs. We look at reflective surfaces that not only reduce temperatures on the inside, but also help mitigate the urban heat island effect. shading both architecturally over windows and openings, as well as from the use of plantings and greenery are some of the measures that we promote through these passive cooling guidelines. And through the use of passive cooling strategies, you can, in some instances, even eliminate the need for mechanical cooling. But of course, in contexts such as Bangkok, passive design is not enough. And so it needs to work well with the mechanical cooling systems, but reducing the load on those systems, reducing the energy needed to provide a thermally comfortable space is really critical to reducing energy use as well as emissions. Sorry. Oh, sorry, that way. Thank you. One of our projects included demonstrating and gathering evidence on passive cooling strategies in the real world. And we took theory into practice, and working with the private sector, you had a baseline unit, housing unit, and an intervention unit. And we worked with them to understand existing design and construction practices, the challenges that they faced in sourcing materials. For instance, cool paint is not readily available in Cambodia. And some of the practical challenges to construction and practices. And we also understood some of the drivers, particularly the economic drivers. But we found that gathering that evidence, monitoring performance, we really discovered that passive cooling can really reduce the indoor temperatures. And at the same time, I'm happy to say that it didn't actually end up costing our developer any more money, and they were able to release a third generation home with a lower cost roofing system that had superior thermal performance. Sure. We formed a community of practice, bringing together policymakers, practitioners, and researchers. We did trainings and capacity building. Building energy modeling was introduced to the curricula at top universities there, really supporting application of passive cooling. And finally, I'm happy to say that passive cooling has been integrated into Cambodia's NDC 3.0 based on the evidence we were gathering from that pilot demonstration. We have integrated some of the findings into recommendations for the forthcoming Building Energy Code. We've raised awareness and capacity. And I would say that the key lesson we have is that demonstrations really accelerate the adoption of policy and design practice on the ground. So with that, I hand back to you, Matt.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you all for highlighting the urgency of urban heat challenges and for the potential solutions. We now turn to session 2, which will showcase practical examples of multi-hazard coastal risk assessment and adaptation solutions. We'll demonstrate how innovative tools, data, and partnerships can support decision makers in coastal countries and communities. So for our first speaker, we have Dr. Lim Suk, who is joining us online. He is head of the Korea-China Air Quality Group, and we're really looking forward to your presentation. Feel free to take the floor. Dr. Lim Suk, are you able to...
everyone. It's yeah. Can you see my screen?
Do you mind sharing it one more time? Thank you. We don't seem to see your screen. Can you try one more time? If not, feel free to begin your remarks. Just to move along, I think we'll go to the next speaker and then we can come back to you. So Elisa Velez, she will be presenting on the Risk and Resilience Portal, which is a coastal multi-hazard tool. So welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. So this is going to be a short presentation on the efforts that ESCAP have been undertaking to conduct coastal multi-hazard analysis and then eventually to build the coastal multi-hazard tool on our own risk and resilience portal, which I think everyone here is familiar with. So basically, these efforts have been going on since the beginning of 2024 when we built the very first tsunami-focused multi-hazard assessment, which was meant to understand the impacts of tsunami inundation on people, ecosystems, economic stock, and infrastructure across the Indian Ocean. And what we found was that a lot of coastal regions in the Indian Ocean are subjected to a convergence of tsunamis and ocean-related hazards. And these risks are compounding, meaning that some can happen at the same time. They are cascading, meaning that one can happen after the other. And they leave communities more vulnerable to subsequent hazards. And what we really want to do with this tool is to basically expand and go beyond the limits of the current tool that we have, which basically focuses on land-based hazard only. Thanks to new processing power and high-resolution data, we're able to look at the coast right now in more detail. Let me go ahead. So this is going to be a short one, but basically this tool is supposed to be a policy tool first and foremost, to be able to really understand and visualize coastal risk, which are very difficult to visualize in a policy-oriented manner, and then hopefully conduct multi-hazard risk analysis that will be able to inform better coastal resilience applications, and then expand the understanding of the coverage and the coverage of coastal risks across the region, which now is quite reduced. And these are some of the examples of the output of the very first assessment that I talked about shortly before, 2024 assessment, which basically found that 20 million people are at risk of tsunami, as well as 200 billions in building stock, 15,000 kilometers square of mangroves, and more than 4,000 critical infrastructure facilities across the Indian Ocean. We also identified the main areas at risk, meaning countries by percentage and absolute numbers exposed, as well as the main urban hotspots that are exposed. You see Mumbai, Banda Aceh, Malé, Hulu in the Maldives, and Phuket in Thailand. So this project that we're working for CARA is based on 3 pillars. So the first pillar is the regional analysis. This is basically supposed to serve as a hotspot identification tool, and this will feed into the risk and resilience portal, and we'll look at coastal hazard and tsunami hazard for the whole region. And the second part is a sub-regional deep dive, which is going to focus mostly on Sri Lanka and the Maldives. This regional deep dive is meant to leverage the expertise and the data that is provided to us by INCOIS and RIMES, and the methodology that Dr. Mahendra, which is also here with us today, has pioneered for the east coast of India. And the idea is to scale up this methodology and to utilize it for Sri Lanka and Maldives as well. And the very last part of the project is called ClimateWise. It's our own machine learning model. ClimateWise is supposed to pair successful adaptation solutions to different areas with similar risk profile to make these hazard impact analysis actually actionable. This is a rundown of the data that we're using for this tool. Of course, I'm not going to go into it because it's a lot of data, but just, the very most important data sets are, of course, tsunami inundation. We're talking about probabilistic and deterministic tsunami inundation, as well as global coastal flood inundation models, and a series of ocean-related hazards. For example, we're looking at sea surface temperature and its impact on biodiversity and coral reefs, which are a very big coastal protection mechanism, especially in countries like Maldives and Sri Lanka. And then, where really ESCAP brings its expertise is for the human development and socioeconomic data sets, which includes a variety of data, starting from population, settlement data, infrastructure data, environmental data, as well as productive sector data. We look at health, infrastructure, power plants, education facilities, etc. Just to note, these data sets, for the most part, are open source because at ESCAP, this is what we work with. But again, we have given the opportunities to countries to be able to use their own data and to give us their own data to do a better analysis. As you can see here on the screen right now, I think it's going. This is a very short demo of what the tool looks like. So this tool was piloted in the Maldives at the beginning of this month of Feb in Malé during our capacity building workshop. So what you're seeing right now, basically on the screen, is that we are selecting two different layers of hazard coastal inundation for the 250-year return period, and for two different sea level years. The first one is baseline 2018, the second one is 2050 for SSP5. And then what we're doing is we're toggling, the socioeconomic exposure layers. In this case, you're seeing buildings on the screen as well as roads. And then we're looking at, is it going? Yeah, and then we're going to look at the exposure metrics for each island and atolls in the Maldives. So what this tool does and allows you to do is basically to see for each island and atoll exactly how many buildings or how many roads or whatever else infrastructure we are inputting in the tool is exposed to which level of hazard. By level, I mean you'll be able to understand for each scenario how many buildings are exposed to say category of flood more than 0.3 meters. And we have chosen these thresholds looking at vulnerability data so that they are actually meaningful. For example, I'm using people, the example of people, we're looking at vulnerability curves of people standing in still water to understand when is actually becoming a risk. So thank you very much. I think my presentation can end here. I hope I stick within the 5 minutes mark. I really wanted to emphasize something. This is a work in progress, and it's going to last for another at least 4 months, 4 or 5 months. So if anyone has data that they would like to contribute, especially when it comes to country level data, we'll be happy to receive it. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. This is very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those remarks. I think we're having some technical difficulties with Dr. Lim Suk, so we're going to move on to Mr. Ali Salman from the Maldives, and the floor is yours. And you have 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. So, yes, before we begin with the presentation, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ali Salman, and I'm currently working in NDMA in the PR department as a development and resilience officer. So today I would like to give you a little bit of a look into the nation's perspective on the coastal hazards and disasters as well. So these are some of the common disaster hazards that you see here on the slide. First of all, the coastal erosion. The is a critical hazard to the Maldives, with over 90% of the islands experiencing a shoreline reduction due to the mix of climate change. I hope I'm not going too fast, but I'm trying to keep within the time limit. Yes. So continuing on, the going to the sea level rising. Sea level rising has been ongoing for quite a while now. Yes, it's been over the past 50 years or so. It has been one of the more bigger challenges for the Maldives, and the sea swelling and surges, which is locally known as Uda, is a hazard frequently occurred driven by long periods of waves generated in the Southern Ocean. So Maldives is a very low-lying country, which faces significant coastal hazards linked to the monsoon heavy rain as well. It is often the southwest monsoon, the wet season, which lasts from May to November, is one of the more bigger challenges. And also, due to the current climate change, there has been very unpredictable weather. So the heavy rain can now occur at any point as well. So that is one of the more important points. The coral bleaching in the Maldives is also arising driven by the rising in ocean temperatures. It is one of the more widespread events. It was first recorded in 1998, around that time. And these events destroy the natural coast defenses. It is one of the more major factors that is a little bit detrimental, because the Maldives as a nation is quite dependent on our tourism, so which is includes into the 40% of GDP. So yes, let's go to the next slide. So these are the current program that we have to combat the coastal hazards, which is the building climate resilient safer islands in the Maldives. So this project was a joint program across many ministries, including us in NDMA. It was started in 2023 and listed to end in 2030. So there are four main components within this coastal hazard. Also, before we go forward, I would like to highlight that the coastal hazards are more listed as an environmental hazard rather than a disaster. So this project is spearheaded by the Environment Ministry rather than NDMA, although we are in the committee as well. NDMA deals more with the disasters through proactive and reactive measures, although we do take the matter of corrosion, coastal corrosion, very as a significant risk to the nation. The BCRSI project aims to shift the paradigm away from the current common understanding and action on the coastal protection in the Maldives. The project maintains in a natural resilience of sandy beaches and coral reef that the islands of the Maldives originally owned, to adapt in a uncertain climate impact through the integrated coastal zone management. It is also implement the coastal conservation measures at some of the densely populated areas, together with the delivery of a disaster early warning information by transferring knowledge and expertise on the proper implementation of the nature-based measures for the coastal zones. So a little bit of a look through the four components here we have on the project. This is one of our main projects that uh, uh, we have in combating the coastal hazards. So the component one is the integrated coastal zone management. Component two is the implementation of the coastal conservation and protection. The third component is the development of disaster warnings and information. Currently, I believe more than 7 high-risk islands has already been done as well. It has more islands have been is ongoing as well. So yeah, yes, let's go to the next slide, please. So these are some of the highlights that I was fortunate enough to join the workshop a few weeks back, conducted as a joint collaboration with NDMA and ESCAP. This was one of the more significant highlights was the tools that we have already seen here from our presentation previously as well. So through these tools, we are able to see what the major changes will be occurring if no preventive measures are taken. The results were quite were quite scary. Most of the islands in the country were submerged within 100 years or so. And with the help of
Apologies, if you
such,
could wrap up, please. Thank you.
yes, all right. Let's go to the next slide. Yes. So these are some of the programs implemented by NDMA. One of the more significant programs is the National Strategy for Crisis Reduction, the DRR program. It is a comprehensive framework at strengthening the disaster resilience against climate-related and hazards, and also the community-based disaster risk management, which is a proactive and participatory approach officially launched in 2014 that empowers the local island communities to identify, analyze, and manage the disaster risk. So I think we will finish my presentation here. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much for your presentation. Now, I want to check one more time to see if Dr. Lim Suk Chang, if his connection is improved. Are you on the call now? If you are, please make yourself heard.
Yeah. Hello?
Great, thank you. We can hear you in the room. Please go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Today, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Today, I would like to share the new tool to monitor climate change forces in Asia. This is slightly not strongly related to the urban heat and coastal risk assessment, but I think it's broadly covered the climate change issues. Yeah. GEMS is a new tool to monitor climate change in Asia. It was launched 5 years ago. Now it's in service to all Asia regions. It includes 20 countries in Asia regions. It is on board GK2B of satellite. The main product is the image of the spatial distribution of climate forces such as aerosol and ozone and the NOx. Some of them are both climate change forces and air pollutants, NOx and SOx, etc. Also, value-added products are also released now in services such as PM surface concentration, PM10 and PM2.5. First, I would like to tackle the monitoring short-lived climate forces. As you know, short-lived climate forces is easy to reduce, and also the reduction policy is more efficient and effective. However, let me tackle one of them, ozone. Ozone is also greenhouse gases, also has a positive feedback with the climate change. It means that this is supported by the close relationship between ozone and the temperature. As ozone increase, as temperature increase, ozone increase, and then ozone increase, it will contribute to increased temperature. So this has ozone has a positive feedback with climate change. Let me see the current status of ozone in Asia regions. This figure shows the annual trend of the ozone seasonal variations in Asia regions. So you can see the two pool of ozone. One of them is the Northeast Asia. The other one is the northern part of the South Asia. So let's see the one of the city of this region, these hot pool regions. For example, Beijing. The peak is located. Peak is occurred in the June. You can see that the peak of ozone is gradually increased from 2021 to 2024. For example, Seoul, you can see that the ozone peak occurred July, and then the peak ozone concentration is in trend of increasing. So ozone issue is I think critical in terms of short-lived climate forces. So we can benefit from the satellite in terms of health impact assessment. GEMS, one of the geostation satellite, and TROP-OMI low orbit satellite, both of them can provide us the imposer data on ozone. But these two satellites, however, these two satellites provide us two different health impact results. This is because TROP-OMI only measure once per day, but GEMS provide us the annual hourly variation of ozone concentrations. These two different features of satellite provide us two different health impacts of ozone. So I think that this GEMS satellite is give us more accurate, more reliable impact assessment. How about let's move on to the AOD, aerosol total amount in the atmosphere. So currently, most Northeast Asia countries implemented a strong reduction policy, and this policy effectiveness can be found in the decreasing trend of each cities. For example, Beijing, you can see that the negative trend of AOD. Also, Seoul shows the negative trend of AOD. So we can see.
Apologies, if you could begin to close. Thank you.
So another benefit is a CO2 emission estimation from satellite. Satellite provide us top-down emissions, which helps us to validate government-reported bottom of emissions. Disaster tracking is a very powerful tool. GEMS is a very powerful tool to track disaster hourly. This helps us to set up the initial response to the natural disasters like this. Left figure shows the wildfire, middle shows the volcanic eruptions, right figure shows the yellow dust. This is obtained from the TEMPO, is a North America geostationary satellite. This also shows that how the wildfire behave from initial outbreak. So this satellite, I think, give us the powerful tool to monitor climate change and natural disaster. This is one of the value-added product, ground PM 2.5 concentrations. This new tool shows that provide us very reliable PM surface concentration data. So I have two news. We have NIR now developed GHD microsatellite, which will be launched to next year. So it is not a one single satellite. It forms the group and then help us the more reliable methane informations to us. Another one is that we are now enter the second phase of GEMS-2. So GEMS-2 is now enter into feasibility study. So it has more higher spatial resolution and the temporal resolution, and also its wavelength is extended to visible. So it means that it gives us more information on the heat-related activity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that presentation. Thank you. Now we have Dr. Mahendra from INCOIS. We really appreciate your presentation. If you could please try to stick to 5 minutes, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Yeah.
And the presentation is viewable from the audience here.
Yeah, good morning to all. Very good morning. Can you make it full slide? Presentation mode? Or else? Yeah. So good morning. Yeah, good. This is all. Yeah, we look at the reason Indian Ocean is the densely populated. There are 50 countries around the Indian Ocean rim, and comprise of 250 million people living within 50 kilometer, and 3,600 fishing villages, and so on and so forth. If you come to India, all large coastal stretches along the east coast and west coast are exposed to oceanogenic hazards, and India is basically experiencing the coastal hazards such as erosion, storm surges, tsunamis, coastal floods, and swell surges as well. So in addition to that, salinity intrusion is also one of the important hazard, coastal hazard that affect the agriculture and other culture. We also have a tsunamis, though which is occurring very rare, but its impact is very huge. Each of these hazard has its own characteristics in terms of return period, extent of inundation, and all. To understand this, can you go to the next slide? We need to collect a lot of data from the oceans, from the in-situ observation platforms, as well as the remote sensing platforms. These data will help us in, can you go next slide? Carrying out the detailed inundation modeling. All these data will be assimilated into the various ocean models, and different forecasts have been generated pertaining to various parameters. Yeah, next one. So this is one of the dissemination and kind of in a service, state-of-the-art lab is set up, which gives various oceanographic services like PFSET and other. When you come to multi-hazard, we provide tsunami early warning, storm surge warning, swell surges, high wave alerts, and oil spills. These are the warning hazards. In addition to that, we also provide coral bleaching alerts and marine heat waves as well. So this center is functions 24/7, round the clock. Scientists and researchers, experts are working in this, and the hazard activities is monitored in the Indian Ocean and Indian coast, and warnings, timely warnings have been issued. Next slide. So this is an example tsunami early warning system. Various components of the tsunami early warning system. It has large observation networks from seismic, bottom pressure records, and tide gases. These data is flowing into system in real time through various communication modes. Once data is received, we do a lot of modeling activities during an event, and this data is be disseminated to the users. And this is you can see that this data is not only India, it is also disseminated to 26 Indian Ocean rim countries through IoT WMS of IOC UNESCO. And we also came up with a new service called new initiative on coastal tsunami ready communities. In this, we have 12 indicators met by that community, like preparedness, hazardness, and assessment. These are the main broad categories. Once they meet these indicators, we also issue tsunami ready. We have total 26 tsunami ready villages in the Indian along the Indian coast, especially in the Odisha coast. Till now, the many are planned, and by the end of next year, we may cross 150 tsunami ready, or around 130 tsunami ready communities are expected. Next slide. So we also have a climate services under deep ocean mission. We are planning to generate a kind of an climate scenarios for next short term and long term as well, using the downscaled CMIC model for the region. And once we have this, we will probably give a kind of what is the impact of these climate changes and sea level rise, extreme water levels, and all for the coastal communities. So next slide, please. These are the examples of our vulnerability products generated till now. And using these vulnerability maps represent the coastal erosion, storm, extreme water levels, cyclone, tsunamis as well. You can see that lot of coastal topography bathymetric data is collected to use in the inundation models. And once we run the inundation model, we can generate a vulnerability maps, how much area is exposed for each of these event, and even multi-hazard vulnerability maps also generated. And we can see that very importantly, 13 coastal cities have been mapped for 3DGS. Individual buildings were mapped to take this inundation building level risk assessment and use it in our warning, tsunami and storm surge warning services. One example of climate change scenario is also given what is the impact of sea level rise, extreme water level. This is especially from the Mumbai metro cities. So next slide, please.
Apologies if you could wrap up, please.
Yeah, yes. Next slide. So this is one example. Once we have these multi-hazard vulnerability maps, we can take this work further downline, and village level socioeconomic vulnerability can be carried out, and we can also generate a kind of decision matrix. If you click on particular administrative level, like a taluk or a district, we can list out what are the villages which are vulnerable, or even if we click on each village, it will tell us what are the buffers and drivers of that particular village, and it will be very useful for the policy interventions at the village level. Next slide, please. So we also have a lot of international collaborations with under various forums, organization, and we have IORA, we have IoTWMS, IOGOOS, and we have regional alliance in the Indian Ocean, and we also work with ESCAP and other various collaboration from the ministry as well, like Indo-UK collaborations are there, Quad and BRICS other alliance we are working. Next one. Yeah, this is all about my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Our final speaker is Ms. Lynn Tang from Vital Strategies. I now invite you to take the floor.
Hi everyone, I'm from Vital Strategies. Next slide, please. And we are a public health organization, primarily addressing non-communicable diseases like cancer, heart disease, hypertension, which globally is the leading cause of death, causing 3 out of 4 deaths. And we work mainly from a prevention approach and in addressing the risk factors associated with NCDs, of which air pollution and heat are risk factors as well. Next slide. So quickly on this slide, I just wanted to show under the pillar of protecting communities, air pollution and heat is one of our key thrusts. Next slide, please. So we all know the hazard, it's getting hotter. Next slide, please. So as a health organization, I wanted to stress a little bit of the health impacts of heat. We all know about the direct impacts such as heat exhaustion and heat stroke, but not many of us may know that heat actually impacts the function of the liver, the kidney, and even worsens allergies and asthma. It is also linked to the exacerbation of NCDs like cardiovascular, respiratory, and diabetes. And of course, there's a lot of established evidence around mental health deterioration as well. Next slide. So in late last year, we did a study. Next slide. We did a study to map the policy instruments that 3 prominent Southeast Asian countries have around heat protection. So we looked at the policy instruments in Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. As you can kind of see from this spread here, and green indicates that those are in place, yellow indicates that those are in progress, and red indicates that we find them to be lacking. So you can see that there's a lot of work to be done. There are more yellows and reds and greens. But I think the positive that you can take from this slide is that the political will, the intent appears to be there, as all these countries have their national climate change adaptation plan. But in terms of how this plan is translated into actual solutions on the ground, it's not been fully fleshed out yet. And if anyone wants the full study, feel free to reach out to me as well. Next slide. So these are the main recommendations from the study. One is that even though heat is a real health issue, a lot of the solutions to heat actually lie outside of the health sector. So for example, previous speakers have mentioned about energy, construction, building codes, design, and even in the manpower sector. So heat advocates, or rather anti-heat advocates, we need to identify what these policies are and have a seat at the table with these stakeholders. The other thing that we all know is that socioeconomic disadvantage compounds vulnerability to heat-related illnesses, and heat just doesn't impact everyone equally. So policy solutions must be very deliberate in being inclusive. And we need to focus both on the short-term and the longer-term solutions. So short-term solutions to heat include like heat action plans, health system improvements, illness surveillance, and so forth. But longer-term solutions are perhaps even more important. And I I think this also relates to the previous speaker on the National Cooling Action Plan, looking at low-cost passive cooling initiatives, improve urban design, and access to energy efficient and cooling appliances. Next slide. Next slide. So at Vital Strategies, we actually started our HEAT program only last year, but it's been really rapidly ramping up. Some of our activities include supporting governments to develop and adopt heat emergency plans, the heat health vulnerability mapping and impact assessments, and of course, developing and implementing heat reducing strategies. So in the Asia Pacific, our Partnerships for Healthy program is working with several cities around, and two very prominent cities for this audience as well. Seoul and Bangkok are two of our partner cities, in addition to Phnom Penh and Quezon City. So the work has really just started, and we hope to be able to report back with the cities on the progress maybe sometime next year. Next slide. I wanted to end on a positive case study of one of our cities all the way in Brazil, the city of Sao Paulo. So the city found that different parts of the city experienced temperature differences of up to 8 degrees Celsius. And to kind of understand these temperature variances, they did an installation of 25 climate sensors in strategic locations around the city, because they wanted to understand how heat flows manifest in urban typologies. And they hope that the data will guide climate adaptation actions, such as creating strategies to improve thermal comfort in the city, for example, formulating guidelines for the provision of parks and water features. I think what's really positive about this example is that the city will be publishing the experience and having forums, technical reports, and as well as making their temperature and climate data analysis available. So this is something that all the cities around the world can benefit from as well. Thank you.
Ms. Tang, thank you so much for your presentation. We really appreciate it. We'll be doing a quick wrap up. I invite Mr. Wong, Chief of the section of the Space Applications section, to do closing remarks. But before that, I want to remind participants that all the presentations will be published on the event page, and you'll have access to them, as well as a meeting report that we will develop. Thank you. The floor is yours, Mr. Wong.
Thank you, distinguished delegates. Over the past hours, we have seen how these innovative tools and partnership can help cities and coastal communities better understand and manage the risks posed by climate change. From urban heat action planning that integrates gender responsive vulnerability assessment to multi-hazard coastal risk analytics supported by high-quality satellite and ocean data. So these approaches are helping translate science into practical decisions. So moving forward, ESCAP will continue working with the member states, partners such as NDMA, Maldives, Incoins, India, and the Vital Strategies, and initiatives like this South Asia Hydromet Forum to scale up these solutions and promote knowledge exchange across the region. So we also acknowledge with appreciation with a strategic support provided by the United Kingdom through the Climate Actions for a Resilient Asia Flexible Fund. We thank you all for your active participation and look forward to continue collaboration with to advance this climate resilience in Asia and Pacific. Thank you. We also have this flagship publications on extreme heat. So hard copies over there, please. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us, and if you have time, please complete this evaluation for the event. Your feedback is extremely valuable. Thank you, and have a great rest of APFSD.